Most of the tools and techniques of leadership and management we use today are more than 100 years old. They stem from the Industrial Revolution. The world has moved on dramatically. It's time for leadership practices to catch up. Welcome back, my friends. Karim Harbott here, talking all things business agility and innovation. Now, before we start, as ever, I will tell you that there is a ton of information down in the description there, so click on that, check out the links, check out the resources. Also, please let me know your thoughts. Please comment. What leadership practices do you find interesting? Would you like to hear about? What's worked for you in your organization? Get those down there, engage with me, and that'll influence future videos. And of course, like the video if you enjoy it, and if you want to see new content every week, then feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be covering a whole range of topics on agile leadership, business agility, and innovation. Today, I'm going to be talking about agile leadership. What is it? How does it differ from standard leadership? And why is it important for modern, innovative 21st century organizations? I believe there are three key principles that separate agile leadership from historical, traditional leadership, and I'm going to be sharing those with you today. But let me begin with some background. Why do we need to change the way leadership happens? If we rewind about 130 years, very few people were focusing on how work gets done. People were working largely in factories. They were working the way they saw fit, the way they've worked out over the years, the way they were taught. And there was wild divergence. Some would do it one way, some would do it a different way. If we had to machine a tire, there'd be 6, 7, 8 different ways of doing it. And some would be really efficient, and some would be really quick, and some would not. Enter a man called Frederick Winslow Taylor. He was fascinated by these variances, by these differences. He thought that if some people were doing it one way that was quick and efficient, and some people were doing it different ways, wouldn't it be better if everybody did it the best way? If he found the one best way to do things. And this wasn't just machining a tire, this was a whole range of tasks that were happening on the factory floors he worked on. So he thought, I know, I will get my assistant with a stopwatch to time me, and I will work out through trial and error what the one best way is for each of the tasks we're doing. I will then document that in simple steps, and then I will encourage the workers to do it that one right way. That will wipe out the variance, and that will mean that everybody is using the most efficient way and the cheapest and the quickest method to get to an outcome. And it worked spectacularly well. It wasn't popular, it wasn't particularly humane, but boy was it effective. Frederick Winslow Taylor was the first person to systematically study the way work gets done in factories. Before that, it was left to rules of thumb, heuristics, and the judgment of those on the shop floor. But those days were over. These were the times of management doing the thinking and the planning, and workers switching off their brains and doing the doing. It was the beginning of what became known as Taylorism. And the wild success of Taylorism led it to be adopted through factories, through government organizations, and through all organizations. Efficiency and management, command and control was the name of the game. But as we know, there is widespread VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Check out my video on that if you haven't seen it. The world has fundamentally changed from a time of the Industrial Revolution. Many people don't work in factories. Many people are doing creative, knowledge work. They are highly skilled. They are thinking for a living, not doing for a living. The work changes every single day. So finding the one right way involves the people on the ground doing the work, doing the thinking in real time. The model has become too slow and too ineffective, and it's time to reinvent that to be fit for the 21st century, not to mention the widespread disengagement that is caused by telling people they're not allowed to use their brains. Enter Agile leadership. Agile leadership is a way to help to grow organizations that can respond to any strategic challenge that comes around the corner. because we don't know what's coming around the corner. So we better be ready to respond to whatever does. It is about creating teams and individuals who are able to respond to that. Now I'm going to walk through, from my observations, the 3 key principles of Agile leadership. Principle number 1, create the environment for excellence. Leadership and management is no longer about telling people what to do. It's no longer about finding the one best way and ensuring compliance to that one best way. Think of leaders as gardeners. They create the environment. They cannot make the flowers grow. All they can do is get the right combination of light, of soil quality, of moisture, and then step back and let the magic happen. And that's how leaders need to work. They need to create the culture. They need to create the vision of the organization. They need to reinforce the values of the organization. They need to create the system and continuously improve the system inside which people are operating. They need to set the direction and the strategy. And then they need to get out of the way and trust that people will do the right thing. Highly skilled, highly engaged, highly motivated people are going to do a better job if they're allowed to use their brains. Which brings me to principle number 2, decentralized decision making. In a world where very, very few decisions need to be made and the world is simple, then maybe some managers can get their head around it. They can study with a stopwatch like Taylor did, find the one best way and just tell people to do that over and over and over again. Which is great if you're doing manual repeatable work in a factory. I imagine most people watching this video are not in that position. If you are, that's great. But mostly people won't be. They are going to be in organizations doing complex, creative, highly skilled knowledge work. They will be thinking for a living. Every single day they come to work to think rather than to do with their hands. When decisions need to be made in real time, all the time. And when the work has so many moving parts, so much complexity, so much interaction with so many other people and other tasks and other functions, then it is no longer appropriate to assume that one person can get their head around that and make all those decisions for people. It's too slow and it's too ineffective. Going up and down the chain, pushing information up to the authority and then trying to get your head around what's happening and then pushing commands down. And if it doesn't work, we go up, we go down with all the cues, the bottlenecks, delays and bad decisions that come from that model. What's the alternative? To get alignment around a shared vision, a shared purpose, a shared outcome, and to move the decision-making authority to where the information is. That is the people doing the work. So we have alignment, and you cannot have decentralized decision-making or autonomous teams without strong alignment, otherwise everyone will go in different directions. You have that alignment and you have the technical competence and you can decentralize decision-making, and the decisions will not just be quicker, they'll be better. And people will be more engaged, they'll enjoy their work more, they'll be more creative. That is how the most effective organizations operate. Principle number 3, grow the capability of everyone around you. One of the most successful executive coaches of all time, Bill Campbell, once said, in order to be a great manager, you have to be a great coach. Because the higher you rise in an organization, the more your success depends on the success of people around you. If you're interested in Bill Campbell's work, read The $1 Trillion Coach. It's an absolutely wonderful book. I'll put a link in the description below. What he means by that is that you don't do the work as leaders and managers. You create the environment, you create the alignment, you grow the technical competence, and you get out of the way, which means the people doing the work are the teams, the self-organizing, cross-functional, highly engaged, creative teams of people. Individuals don't do great things, teams do great things, and you need to get out of the way. And so the better you make people around you, the more success an organization will have, which means, I think it was a quote from Peter Drucker that said, in the 20th century, managers needed to have great answers. In the 21st century, they need to ask great questions. Okay, you need to help people around you to think things through by asking the right questions. You need to help them to grow. You need to mentor. You need to encourage them and challenge them to get better, to continuously improve, to learn. You need to put the right things in place to help people grow, the time, the resources. You need to be a great coach. You need to be a great mentor. If you make everyone else around you better, a high tide rises all ships. All of the most effective leaders today are effective coaches. So to summarize, create the environment for success, set the vision, set the values, get the culture right, work on the system, decentralize decision making in alignment with a shared common purpose and outcomes, and let those with the information make the decisions. And finally, become a great coach and mentor and grow the people around you such that they do great things. Your success is dependent on those around you being great and doing great things. There's no way of separating the two. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that video was useful for you. I'll be releasing more videos on agile leadership as well as business agility and innovation. So check back frequently, and I will see you next time.